So if I were president, and I say this, I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
Hey, what's going on, folks? We have a great show for you today. First, we're going to talk about how Donald Trump said he would stop the Ukraine war within 24 hours.
I know Zelensky well. I know Putin well. I would get that ended in a period of 20.
You can break that deal.
100%. It would be easy. That deal would be easy.
The funny part is, I actually believe that he could do that. I like that type of messaging, and I hope he sticks to that, as opposed to pathologically lying, acting like a Democrat over COVID, and accusing DeSantis of things that he also does. Please stick to this messaging, Trump, because I think it is your strong point. A man was killed on a subway recently that had 40 prior arrests, a lot of really great dance videos. The guy had talent, and I just saw news footage that he was threatening people on the subway. So we're gonna listen to that clip and talk about it briefly.
The man began shouting, quote, "I want food. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm ready to go back to jail, and I'll hurt anyone on this train."
Third story is Bolsonaro is allegedly being raided because he might have faked a vaccine passport to get to America. It's definitely an interesting story I want to cover. And lastly, I want to address this psychotic organization that claims to fight anti-Semitism but just lies and makes everything worse. They've pulled up my interview with Candace Owens where we were talking about how being a good and cool person is the best way to put on for your ethnic group, and the worst thing to do is to just be annoying, fake, and use your entire race as a shield. That was our conversation. It was a loving one. It was an honest one. But some deranged organization called, I think, Stop Anti-Semitism or something, they pulled that clip in an attempt to call Candace Owens an anti-Semite. I want to respond, since they're using my podcast as a smear attempt to inflame racial division and honestly do the exact thing we were talking about in that clip: be annoying, being fake, exaggerating, lying, and using their race as a shield to do so. It's a terrible, terrible strategy to make people like you, but we'll talk about it. God bless you. Show starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. We have a long and big episode today, so I'm just going to get into the first story, which is something that I actually believe Trump on, and I agree with him, and I pray that for his sake and for the country's sake, or whoever, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter that much, but I hope he sticks to this type of messaging because I think it is his strong point, and when Trump tells the truth and he's authentic, there's no one better. When he tries to be a politician and a Democrat, it's weird. So let's play this clip, and I cut it into 4 different clips. Let's watch.
So if I were president, and I say this, I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
I believe that he could do that. I truly believe he could. Let's keep listening.
I know Zelensky well. I know Putin well. I would get that ended in a period of 20.
You can break that deal.
100%. It would be easy. That deal would be easy.
Let's keep listening real quick.
A lot of it has to do with the money. A lot of it has to do with the military, we're giving. But I would get that deal done within 24 hours. That war has to be stopped. That war is a disaster.
Yeah.
This is the classic Trump I haven't seen in a long time, like the Trump that everybody loved, the Trump that I liked. It felt authentic. It felt real. That clip that I watched. I think he could do that. I think that's a strong point. I think he is good at negotiating with foreign countries, and I think that was what they hated about him the most. I mean, they hated everything about him, but, I do think that this war is avoidable, and I think that the powers that be are doing everything they can to make this war happen. It's like a metaphor for what America's been doing. It's like if someone's just punching you, and they're just punching you, and then they're like, stop hitting me, stop hitting me, stop hitting me, stop hitting. That's what America's doing to Ukraine. It's like, they're like, who's doing this? Putin? And it's like, you're also involved in it. So I feel like if Trump got in, he could look at the situation and be like, Zelensky, stop doing that. Putin, stop doing that, okay? And then they're like, oh, okay, I guess we have to. I really do think, call me naive, but I think Trump could fix this war in 24 hours because I think it's easily avoidable. Honestly, I think America and Zelensky just need to stop lying. And this is not a cosign for everything Putin's doing. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he's the greatest person in the world. It's just we're lying. And if we stop lying, things get a lot easier. It's sad when our enemies make more sense than we do. It's sad. It's sad that China is raising young boys to be strong and America's turning young boys into girls so Big Pharma can make a cash cow. It's a huge angle of it, by the way, guys. I've started to notice ads start popping up for, oh, you should take this. That, like, I'm like, oh, now it all makes sense. I mean, it always made sense, but it's like Big Pharma, every time somebody transitions, Big Pharma makes money. They give them pills. Every time someone is like, I'm gay, Big Pharma's like, well, you need this pill to stop AIDS. It's like, yeah, God forbid you just stop railing dudes in the you-know-where. No. You need to just take pills. You're a girl, pills. You can't, you're going to, San Francisco, take a pill. It's like, you don't want to have a kid, just take a pill. Girls, take an abortion pill, take a pill. It's like, or you could stop banging guys or girls, like whatever disease you don't want or you don't want a kid. It's like, no, that's not an option. No, you got to just take a pill. I started just to notice that. I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but you get what I'm saying? Big Pharma loves this transgender stuff, and Big Pharma loves LGBTQ because they're just a new batch of customers that they shove pills down their throat. Just like they love left-wing activists. It's like, should I stop having sex with random guys? It's like, no, just take 15 pills and just keep living that life. I'm sure it'll make you happy. It won't. And I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a saint. I'm just saying we're being deceived. With that being said, I don't even know why I went on that rant, but I'm glad I did. Donald Trump says he could end this war, and I really think he could because, oh yeah, I said our enemies are like China. For all the flaws that they have in their communist system, they're not a perfect country by any means, obviously. What they're raising their young men to be is less psychotic than what America's doing. What Russia's doing to their young kids is less psychotic than America. Like, America is like the psychotic person now that's like, oh my gosh, why is everyone hitting me? It's like, just stop lying and we could fix the war in 48 hours. Doesn't mean Putin's innocent. Doesn't mean America's so bad. Doesn't mean everyone, it just means we need to, if we can't stop lying about everything all the time, then we can't fix any problem. I agree with Trump here. This is the Trump that I like. I hope he sticks to this because I do think this is where he has an edge over DeSantis. I trust him more on this topic. I don't know how bad his advisors are that he just they're like, yeah, he's like COVID data. That'll really, no. This type of talk gets people on your side. And to be fair, the whole swing in the polls was when Trump got arrested in New York. Although that's not a good thing to happen to him in the court system, as far as politically, that's the greatest thing that ever happened to him because Trump didn't actually have to earn any sort of like, oh, he really makes more sense now. It's like, oh, he's the victim and, I got to vote for him now because he got arrested and flew to Mar-a-Lago. Like, that's what shot him up in the polls. It's not having his psychotic advisors on Twitter calling everyone fat. It's funny, but it's not. It's just like, it's not posting Democrat COVID data from 2020 and acting like that's a revelation. That's not the Trump everybody likes. People are just rehashing old memories of this Trump, the one that would stop a war in 24 hours. I mean, this is the one thing that I think he's clearly better than DeSantis at. And I hope he sticks to that instead of trying to attack DeSantis from the left and demanding loyalty from everybody. In my personal perspective, I think RFK Jr. is working hard to earn people's votes. I think DeSantis is trying to work to earn people's votes. I think Trump just demands respect and loyalty, and he just thinks he deserves it, even though he hasn't been really working for it. But I'm going to play this clip again, and then I'll play one more. We'll move on. This is the Trump I like. This is the Trump I would consider voting for. And if he could stick to this message and just be honest, it's like, don't think I'm so stupid that you could just run around lying about the vaccine, lying about COVID data, lying about accusing DeSantis of things you're doing. Like, that's intellectually embarrassing. Like, you think I'm stupid. I'm not stupid, Trump. I like you when you're right. I like you when you're honest. I like you when you're strong. I liked you for the good reasons. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a cultist. I'm not a little bootlicker. So just do stuff like this and you could earn my vote. Stop lying.
So if I were president, and I say this, I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
When he says that, I believe him. I look into his eyes and I'm like, I believe him. I think he's not lying. I think he could end this war in 24 hours. Maybe it would take a little longer, but I think he could end the war.
I know Zelensky well. I know Putin well. I would get that ended in a period of 24
You can break that deal.
100%. It would be easy. That deal would be easy.
I believe him. He's not just trying to desperately attack DeSantis in ways that don't even make sense. He's telling the truth, or at least I perceive it that way. So hopefully he continues to do that. I like that clip, and I wanted to make this one to, try to basically incentivize positive things. I don't like to just complain about things I don't like. I like to show love and boost the things I do like. I think that's an effective method. One thing I want to post real quick is hilarious. It's just Trump talking about the buildings in Ukraine. And I was watching a Shane Gillis comedian. Guys, if you want to watch a funny stand-up, go on YouTube and watch Shane Gillis. His latest stand-up was hilarious. But he has this bit about Donald Trump impression, and he was like, in the stand-up, he said, I'm kind of annoyed that Trump didn't win because I just started to get good at my Trump impression. And he goes, in order to do a good Trump impression, all you have to do is basically say the same thing 3 times in a row and just like add an adjective. Like, ooh, I walked into the room. Wow, what a big room. That's my room. Wow, what a big room. Like, you say the same thing 4 times. And Trump literally did that. He's talking about buildings collapsing in Ukraine, but it's like a whole thing. Here, I'll play the clip because it's so funny.
Thousands of people are being killed in these cities that are being knocked down.
Yeah.
They're in those big apartment houses, and they are big buildings. I'm a very good real estate guy. I know what these are massive buildings. I'm actually surprised to see.
It shouldn't be funny, but it is. He's like, people are dying in big buildings. He's like, big buildings? I know a lot about big buildings. I'm a big builder. Big builders know big buildings. It's like, bro, you're talking about people dying. I want to watch it again. Sorry.
Thousands of people are being killed in these cities that are being knocked down.
Yeah.
They're in those big apartment houses, and they are big buildings. I'm a very good real estate guy. I know what these are massive buildings. I'm actually surprised to see.
These are big buildings, big buildings. I mean, I'm a massive real estate guy. I know buildings. These are massive buildings. And it's like, he always talks like that. It's really funny. But, jokes aside, God bless the guy. I hope he returns to glory. And please stick to just tell me the truth. Don't become a politician with like weird smear attempts. Like, it's like, is Ron DeSantis gay? It's like, I don't know. Is he? If he is, say it. If not, like, I don't know. Like, it's like, he's doing bad in COVID cases, COVID. And it's like, bro, what are you, Don Lemon to attack? Like, dude, just stick to what you're good at and tell the truth. Anyway, second story is apparently Jordan Neely. There's this whole video footage of a guy on a subway station who got choked out, and he unfortunately, sadly, got choked to death by a man who is trying to protect people. And psych, I consider her, like, metaphorically or literally, depending how you look, but AOC reminds me of like a sleep paralysis demon, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Like, if you've ever had like a nightmare and like a sleep paralysis demon wakes you up, it's really scary. It's evil stuff. But like, that's AOC. Her whole existence is like a sleep paralysis demon. She's like always just trying to lie, and her energy's like this, and she's always got it. And I can't stand AOC. She's so cringe. But it's like, I see her as a sleep paralysis demon. Anyway, demon lady, Alexandria Ocasio-Demano, she's on Twitter being like, oh, defending this guy and be like, oh, he was murdered. How can you not see this? And I just wanted to play this clip real quick.
The man began shouting, quote, I want food. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm ready to go back to jail, and I'll hurt anyone on this train.
Apparently he said, I'm ready to go back to jail, and I'll hurt anyone on this train. Jordan Neely had 40 prior arrests. 40? And he's on a train saying, I'll hurt anyone on this train. I don't care if I'm going back to jail, freaking out. And some good Samaritan puts him in a chokehold to try to save people. And he unfortunately passes away. There's videos of him dancing. It's very sad. Even though the guy seemed to be deranged, he's very talented. It's just so annoying to me that Democrat politicians like AOC, they do nothing to help their city. Their city's falling apart. If anybody tries to help it, little demons like AOC, like, if you in Echo Park, it's turned into a disaster. It used to be beautiful, like a little hipster area, LA. They have all this homeless and stuff. The police go to clean it up, and all these little like left-wing demon activists, they come out screeching, being like, no, we want it. Like, it's like they're basically like flies on shit. Like, they love filth. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're beyond pigs, like pigs rolling in the mud. Like, you get what I'm not trying to be rude, but I guess it's just true. It's like they want filth, they want crime, they want homelessness, they want everything disgusting. They don't want you to solve it. And then when it gets so bad that somebody's threatening people on a train and somebody takes it into their own hands, then the sleep paralysis demons like Alexandria Demano Cortez come out and start screeching about, oh, you don't give a crap about this guy. Are you on the public subway every day, AOC? Do you know what it's like? You know, are you living in these cities? It's not safe anymore. Everybody's getting attacked or yelled at. Everybody has a story about getting robbed, and you don't do anything to fix it. You don't have any solution for it, for the mental health, for the homeless. And then you just blame the people that are trying to help. In my opinion, although I love a lot of major cities like San Francisco, New York, LA, I want nothing to do with them. Flee the city and let the sleep paralysis demons just like lay in their own filth. That's what they want to do. They want to lie about it all the time. I'm over it. With that being said, you know, I just saw Jake Shields say something on Twitter that I thought was interesting. He said the way that left-wing activists, they changed the words from homeless to, what is it, like unhoused. That's like a left-wing solution. Their cities are falling apart. Crime is rising. Homelessness is out of control. There's people with 40 criminal records, you know, threatening people on a subway. And then it's like, well, here's our solution. Let's just call them unhoused instead of homeless. Let's just call them the unhoused people. Wow, that gave them so much dignity and respect. I'm sure that they're fine now. Like, that's what left-wingers do. They can't even like fix their problem. They just like change a word. Well, they're the unhoused now. Well, the unhoused are so deranged that they're threatening people. So do you have a solution for it? Or no, you're just going to wait until a good Samaritan saves someone's life, and then you're going to cry and screech and try to cause division. Someone said, I don't live in New York City. Oh, trust me, I know. I don't want to live in New York City. I've stayed in New York City. I've been there a bunch of times. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've been to San Francisco. I walk the walk. I want no part of those cities. I want no part of New York. Haven't been there in years. I want no part of Los Angeles. Haven't been there in years. I want no part of San Francisco. Haven't been there for years. I'm very aware that I do not live in those cities. I want nothing to do with them. The politicians are disgusting. The people keep voting for it. The left-wing activists like to roll around in their own crap. The second that you try to fix the problem, they run outside and start screeching like they're a fly attached to human shit. Like they need it. They need their community to just be filled with crackheads. They need that. They want that so bad. It's like, it's disgusting. Imagine trying to raise a family out there. Like, you know, people in LA don't even realize that most of the country has parks that you can actually play at. Like, so many parks in LA are unplayable. There's crackheads, there's homeless, like it's like a no-go zone. You know, in the rest of America, people play, they let their kids play at the parks because there's actual like smart civilians there who know that they want a comfortable city to live in, and they protect the youth instead of like trying to chop their genitals off and, you know, make them walk to school 10 blocks through a freaking nightmare. It's like unbelievable. So, you know, left wingers, right wingers, both sides kind of annoy me, but I'm always reminded that there's nothing more deceitful than the left winger. They're not trying to be honest or reasonable about anything. And I'm not one of these people. People who watch my channel, they always say, oh, you criticize the Republicans too much. Because honestly, they're super fake and super annoying. And like, I don't even like 80% of what Republicans say anymore. I find them so fake. They're like robots. They just say things. They don't even mean it. But the left winger, it's like they can't tell the truth about like anything. No matter what the race is or what the gender is or what the situation. This guy's got 40 criminal prior arrests, and he's on a subway saying, I don't care if I'm going to go back to jail. I want to hurt somebody. What do you want people to do? Just sit there? Unbelievable. You know, and they have no solutions for these problems. As soon as a problem happens, they like to run in and say the hero's the villain's the hero, and just mess everything up. It's straight up satanic. You know, the right is annoying and fake, but the left is just straight up wrong about almost everything. And it's insane because it's like the right's not even that good. It's a battle of like who can mess up less. And obviously, I just can't get over, like, I try to ignore AOC because she's so evil. Reading her tweets like, oh, You know, it's like you don't care. You don't care about the mental health of these people. There's if you care so much, go fix it, because New York is filled with people like that. New York is filled with criminals and mentally ill. Los Angeles is even worse. Go fix it. You're not going to fix it. You're going to wait until something happens, act like the hero's the villain, the villain's the hero, stir up tension, freak people out. I'm over these cities. Honestly, it's like, let them roll around in their own filth. The sad part is AOC, I highly doubt she rides public trains all the time. Now, maybe she hops on a few, but it's like, she's not one of these left-wing activists that at least lives in that stuff. She's one of these people that looks at it, just talks about it. It's disgusting. But anyway, you know, we'll see what happens to that guy, and we'll see what happens to the full story. I mean, how do you even get arrested 40 times? That's just sad. 40 times? And then you're still on a subway threatening people? It's clearly a mental health problem, but at a certain point, you got to figure out how to get these people off the streets or somewhere. You can't have them just running around committing crimes, threatening people. No one wants to live in that life. So, third story I want to talk about, and then the last one is about this anti-Semitism organization that's out here kind of smearing me, but really they're going after Candace. They're just using my podcast. I have a lot to say about that, but let's get the story about Bolsonaro. Was the president of Brazil. He was one of the most outspoken people about the vaccine. Unlike Trump, he wasn't running around lying about it deceivingly. He was talking about liability and Pfizer. I like Bolsonaro. I trust him more than Trump because he told way more truth about Big Pharma. But anyway, he's been in America, like parading around with Republicans all the time. And you can't get into America without having a vaccine, but he keeps saying he's unvaccinated, but he's in America. So now they're raiding him. Let's talk about the story. This is Axios. Federal police in Brazil have searched former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro's home and seized his phone on Wednesday. And what they said, it was an investigation into fake COVID vaccination cards. Why does it matter? Police are investigating whether Bolsonaro, who has long denied being vaccinated, had given false information inserted into a government database so that he and his family members could receive vaccination certificates, which they used to travel to the U.S., the Wall Street Journal reports. Police said they searched 16 locations and arrested 6 people, including close to Bolsonaro associates Mauro Cid, per the AP, which also reports that Bolsonaro will be questioned at police headquarters. Bolsonaro confirmed his home was searched. He said, "For my part, there was nothing falsified. I didn't take the vaccine, period," he told reporters. So here's what I'm going to say. I like Bolsonaro. Someone said you can enter the USA without being vaccinated. You actually can't. I mean, maybe after May you can. It's going to go away soon. But if you're a U.S. citizen, you could leave and come back unvaccinated. If you're not a U.S. citizen, if you're a foreigner, or you don't have, even if you have certain types of visas, you actually can't. That's the reason Djokovic could not play in the U.S. Open this year. Or the Miami event. That's the reason that my friend DJ Akira the Don can't come in the United States. You can't. You actually can't. Maybe if you have some sort of connect or you're lying like Bolsonaro, but the rule has been for the last couple of years, and a lot of people don't know this because Democrats obviously are doing it and Republicans actually don't talk about it because they only seem to like run people in circles and never do anything. But this is something that they actually could win public support over. This is a huge issue that we could really win a lot of independents and a lot of people, because most people don't agree with this anymore. But Republicans don't even seem to talk about it. Besides Thomas Massie, DeSantis mentioned it. Most people don't even know this is a thing because no one talks about it. It's very sad. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can go and come. It doesn't matter if you have a vaccine or not. If you're not a U.S. citizen and you don't have the paperwork, you can't. Djokovic can't come. I think legally Bolsonaro can't come. So the fact that he's saying that he doesn't have a vaccine, but he got to the U.S., I don't know how he got here. Djokovic is rich and powerful. How come he couldn't get here? I'll say this. I like Bolsonaro. I don't think he should have got raided. But, I do feel a certain way personally about people faking vaccine passports. It's like, what makes you so special? And if you're going to be in America and hang out with a bunch of Republicans, why aren't those Republicans? Like, I know he's hanging out with Trumps and, he's at this event, that event. He's in Florida. That's nice. I appreciate it. But, he's hanging out with most of these people that don't even talk about what's going on. So it's like, you think you're so special? Hundreds of millions of people can't come to America, but you're going to fake a vaccine passport because you're a politician. I'm not saying I agree with the rule. I don't. But to me, I'd rather someone just speak the truth about what's going on than fake a vaccine passport and never talk about it. And then, really it's like faking your papers when the papers are evil. You're playing into the system. And that's what a lot of, I think, politicians do. I think that's why Republicans are useless in many ways against the left, is because they help the left 9 times out of 10. And then when it comes time to really push back against the tyranny, all of a sudden they don't really have much to say. And a lot of people know they have this elitist status where they could get around the rule themselves because they're more connected. I don't agree with the vaccine passport, but where he's hanging out with Republicans in America. How many of those Republicans hanging out with Bolsonaro faking a vax card, if he did that? Someone said he's a political refugee, so he didn't fake a vax card, that he just got here as a political refugee. Maybe, then why can't other people come, though? I understand. I support Bolsonaro being here. I don't think he should have got a vaccine. Personally, I don't work for people that, like, I'm not a law enforcer. You get what I'm saying? It's not up to me. I don't care. But there's millions of people that would love to come to the U.S. as a prisoner, but they can't. So he's just connected, so he can do it. I like him. I'm glad he's here. But, I think there's tens of millions of people who would love to flee Australia, tens of millions of people who would love to flee other countries and get here, and they can't do it. So I think it's, he's using his power to get special things. No, I get it. It is what it is, but I guess I'll just end on this note. I don't agree with him being raided. I like Bolsonaro. I don't like the fact that Democrats did this. It's their fault. But I don't like the fact that Republicans don't even talk about it. For the last 2 years, Thomas Massie mentions it a lot. Ron DeSantis has mentioned it. I've mentioned it. You can't really find the GOP talking about this much. This is a winnable issue. This is something that should have been pushed back on way harder a year ago. And I think we could have won public support because probably like 8 to 9 out of 10 people agree with us. There's unvaccinated people traveling all over. Why would people incoming not you get what it makes no sense. Even most Democrats don't agree with it. But the GOP are idiots. So obviously this is Democrats' fault. I'm just tired of, like, the GOP doesn't care about that much unless it affects them. That's just how I feel about politicians. Not to rehash old times, but when I was listening to Trump's rhetoric in 2020, I felt a certain way because it's like I'm trapped inside and everything's closing down around me. And I feel like most politicians don't care because they're on TV. They get to be on jets. They're not feeling what most people are feeling. They're not feeling the pain of what it's like to not be able to go to a grocery store because they're elitist. They have everything. They can travel. They can talk. They can walk around. I feel there's a huge disconnect, obviously, between Democrats and people, obviously, but also Republicans. I feel like they don't really fight that hard most of the time because they don't care because they have special rules. That's just how I feel about it. So I like Bolsonaro. I don't agree with the vax card, but if you're going to come to America without a vaccine, you should be, yelling from the mountaintops about how corrupt it is, not hanging out with a bunch of GOP people who don't even talk about this. Most of their constituents don't even know that it was a thing for 2 years. We lost billions or trillions of dollars of revenue from tourism. We've really sunk into one of the worst countries for freedom when it comes to travel. I mean, we were in the small percentile of countries that were not allowing people to come unvaccinated. It's embarrassing for America. It's the Democrats' fault. But once again, Republicans they're just there to lose. They're just there to distract you. They're just there to run you in circles. They're just there to fund the opposition and then cry and act like the victim when the opposition does what we always knew they were going to do. Just as annoyed as I am with the Biden administration, I'm just tired of the GOP not really doing much about it. And if Bolsonaro is going to be here, it's worth bringing up to your friends that you're hanging out with. Like, you might have been able to get in as a political refugee, but there's hundreds of millions of people around the world that can't do that. So someone needs to speak for them. I've done it. Massey's done it. DeSantis has done it to his credit. You can't find that many people doing it because most people don't care. And I'll tell you this before I move on to the next topic too. I understand. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative for everything that I've gotten. I've worked hard, but also I understand that my job's not that hard, so I don't feel that special. I always feel the need to keep working. A lot of even like influencers that you think that they're like journalists, but they're really just professional like grifters now. And I get it. Get your money, I'm not knocking it. It's like if that door opened up for you, it's a beautiful door. Walk through it. But I feel like the reason most people don't talk about this stuff is because they've become the new elitists. They've become the new rhinos. They've become the new, well, I'm at Mar-a-Lago with Bolsonaro and Trump. So, you know what? Like, they're not really that interested in being like, hey, look at, we still can't try. Like, this was such a home run of an issue that everyone should have been talking about. Joe Biden, President loser Biden, won't allow billions of people around the world to come to the U.S. unvaccinated for years past Australia, years past Europe. We were one of the least free countries in the world to travel, and you didn't hear two things about it. I mean, DeSantis, Massey, me, Djokovic, that's really it. I just don't understand why this wasn't a bigger issue. It was the most winnable issue. It was the most egregious issue. It's one of the slam dunks on Joe Biden that we could have done a year ago, and just no one seems to care about it. Very weird. I've had on Akira the Don, Pete Parada. I've talked about it 10 times. I only can do so much. So it's ending in May, thank God, but I'm just a little annoyed that it took so long. And this is one of the many reasons I vote Republican. I think the main reason, I could pick a bunch, but besides foreign policy, I knew Trump would not do that. What Biden did with the travel mandate, Trump wouldn't have done that. No matter how much he lies about the vaccine, no matter how much he does, he wouldn't have done that. And that's why I voted for him on multiple levels. There's other things too, but it's like I knew Biden was going to be a disaster with the COVID stuff. And I don't know why the GOP doesn't run on that stuff. I don't know. It almost just feels like they want to lose. I get that. I'm not asking the GOP to be soft, but there's certain issues that are just slam dunks. They're just slam dunks. 8 out of 10 people at this point, 9 out of 10 people, they don't think there should be a mandate for unvaccinated people. Nobody thinks that. Even most vaccinated people, even most nurses that are Democrats, they're tired of wearing the mask at work. I've talked to Democrat nurses who are vaccinated who think forced masking is insane. This is such a winnable issue, but the GOP is just so goofy and the leader, but whatever. It is what it is. Last story I want to talk about. Let me take a sip of my coffee because it's going to get intense. Not really. I mean, it's going to be pretty calm. So if you guys saw my interview with Candace Owens, we talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, I asked her questions about Trump, Thomas Massey, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, Daily Wire. I asked her if, Prager, Ben Shapiro have ever censored her. In my opinion, I mean, I'm definitely highly biased because I did it, but, I don't think many people ask good questions like that. I even asked her about theories that people have of her with her husband. I've seen people that I follow be like, Candace is married to this person. And listen, I wasn't trying to like throw it in her face. I'm just like, people keep saying this. Do you want to address it? Because I know Candace doesn't care. She's not like afraid to talk about stuff. I thought I asked some pretty good questions. I thought it was a really interesting interview. And honestly, there was no really hate whatsoever. Like the fact that got picked up by Stop Anti-Semitism is laughable. These people are so annoying. But anyway, I woke up, and I talked about it a few days ago because some like watchdog group posted it. And now it's going like they're trying to smear Candace from the interview because basically she said something like, when I'm with Dennis Prager, I forget that he's even Jewish. So they took it out of context to be like, oh, Candace is anti-Semitic. It means that if he was Jewish, she wouldn't like him, or, she's saying this or that. And I'm like, listen, I'm responsible for my words, not her words. She could have worded it better for people like that to not take it out of context. But in general, the whole gist of that conversation was it started when I said, which I completely stand by everything I say because it's true. I'm not apologizing. I'm not groveling on my knees to these people so I could show them, oh, I'm not sorry for any of this stuff. I'm right, you're wrong. But anyway, the conversation was no matter if you're black, no matter if you're Jewish, no matter if you're white, no matter if you're Asian, no matter if you're the rainbow people, whatever your thing is, but we're specifically talking about race, so rainbow's not a race. But in general, what I was trying to say was when you're a race activist, which you don't have to be, you don't have to be a race activist. If you're white, if you're Jewish, you're black, you could just do something else. But if you choose to be a race activist, the best thing to do is to be honest, likable, cool, and trustworthy. If you're annoying, fake, dishonest, like a liar, exaggerating all the time, you're doing a massive disservice to your people. Because if you're annoying and you're fake, it is what it is. Like, people aren't going to blame your entire race for you. But if you use your race as a shield and you're like, I'm Stop Anti-Semitism, that's what I do, and you're annoying and you're fake and you exaggerate, you're throwing your people under the bus. Like you're instead of like you just taking accountability for your actions and being like, yeah, that's who I am. You're like, no, 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 no. I'm doing this for all of us. And it's like, that's the worst thing you could do. You got to have self-awareness. And if you're going to put your whole race on your back and put it on at every interview, be cool, be likable, be friendly. Doesn't matter if you're black or white or Jewish. It's like, if you're not a good person and you're not a likable or honest person, not only are you annoying and not only does no one have to like you, but if you use your race as a shield, you're doing disservice to your entire race, in my view. That's what it was about. So it was about being a cool person. And Candace went to, compliment Prager and say, when she wasn't saying, oh, Prager, I forgot he was even Jewish. It was like she views Dennis Prager as such a friend that she doesn't think about his race. It's not like Dennis Prager sits and like, oh, you're black, you're Jewish. She was just like, it doesn't even matter. I just like him as a person. And they're taking that and being like, oh, you guys are anti-Semitic and she's anti-Semitic and it's classic anti-Semitism. And it's like, really? Candace Owens is friends with lots of Jews. She works with Jewish people. Like, she's not anti-Semitic. She's just someone who just talks a lot and doesn't mince her words. So if you're going to say that she is and post it out there and get a bunch of hysterical, pathological liars all wound up, you're becoming the problem. This page, Stop Anti-Semitism, I looked at on Twitter. They're from New York. It's like, do we want to talk about saving Jews' lives? Let's talk about it. New York is not a great place for Jews right now. And it's not because of anti-Semitism. It's just because New York's not really a great place for anybody. Same with Los Angeles. Lots of Jews in Los Angeles. It's not the same Los Angeles it was 15 years ago. So, the biggest threat, in my opinion, to American Jews is the fact that most of these psychotic left-leaning organizations, or sometimes right-leaning organizations, they're so wound up about trying to police speech and stuff so much that they're not even focused on the fact that where most of their people reside, or a lot of them reside, are these, excuse my language, shithole Democrat cities where they're not safe anymore. If a Jew is unsafe in Los Angeles or New York, most of the time it's because the criminals and the demons walking the street are criminals and demons. They don't care who you are. They're not stopping to see if you're white and Christian or Jewish or you have ethnic pride. They don't care. They're like crackheads. You get what I'm saying? It's not really a safe city anymore. So it extra gets under my skin when these people operating out of New York City, it's like, spend your energy trying to clean up your trashed city that is falling apart instead of worrying about what somebody who lives in Tennessee and California is saying about Dennis Prager when they're trying to compliment him. She was trying to compliment him, not me. But in general, it's like, that's the big scoop. That's what you're going to do. I don't know if this is irony. I always say that because I'm not sure. I don't want to misuse the word irony, but it seems a little ironic that the whole conversation we were having is, if you're a good, likable person, it helps your race more than being annoying and using your race as a shield. And what Stop Anti-Semitism did was not take my advice and acting fake and annoying and using their race as a shield to be fake and annoying and throwing their entire ethnic group under the bus. So the weird part is, if they would have just listened to that podcast in full context and actually done it, they would have done themselves more of a service. But they're not really trying to think of that. I have a few things to say outside of that. There's great people from every race and religion. There's great people from every country. I've never been one, and I don't care. And I'm not saying this to virtue signal. I truly believe it. I've never been one to like hate everybody from China because the Chinese government's bad, or hate everybody from Africa because one person was mean to me, or hate everybody from Israel because of Netanyahu. Like, I'm not that person. I understand that there's great people everywhere. I'm not, there's some Israelis that hate Palestinians. Like, there's some Palestinians that hate all Israelis. And then there's some that just like their people more and they're in a war. But I understand that there's good people on all sides of the equation. So I'm not that type of person, and I've never been. So, when pages like that post my stuff, and then I saw this one guy, his name is Brandon Weaver. We used to be friends. We used to message on Twitter. He's an Israeli American with dual passports, and he's even admitted he has dual loyalty. He likes Israel and America. That's fine. He's on the comments calling me a Jew hater. And he's done it like 4 times. Jew hater. He keeps saying I'm a Jew hater. And I'm like, bro, we used to talk. why are you suggesting I hate an entire group of people? And he can't say anything because I've never said that. I've never hated all Jews. I've never hated all Israelis. All I do is talk about speech laws. I don't agree with speech laws. I understand the difference between a foreign country and an entire group of people. If you look at crime statistics and say the truth, you're not racist. And if you look at who owns the media, majority of statistically, it doesn't make you an anti-Semite. It means you just know facts and you're not afraid to say basic statistics. I know that bothers some people, but I'm sorry the truth bothers you. Show me on the doll where the truth hurt you. Anyway, he's like, so I'm like going back and forth and I'm like, bro, what's your deal? Like, why are you a dual citizen with dual loyalty? You probably have more loyalty to a foreign country and you sit in America smearing me as a hater of the country that you like more than America because of what? What's your reason? And he's like, well, you've said something about Ye and Fuentes. So if you agree with Netanyahu and Netanyahu kills somebody like with his military, are you responsible for that? Are you responsible for everything Netanyahu ever does because you agree with one thing he says? That's the game these people are trying to play. And I figured out the code. A lot of people are trying to project onto me who they are. I don't hate anybody. I don't dislike anybody. To be honest, I don't have nearly as much ethnic pride as they do. I just don't. They do, though. If you run a group called Stop Anti-Semitism, you have Jewish ethnic pride. You could call it religious pride, but a lot of the people at that organization probably don't even believe in the religion. It's an ethnicity. It's ethnic pride. They're some of the most prideful people on planet Earth. There's a lot of people who love their race. There's a lot of black group that love their race. There's a lot of Jewish groups that love their race. But if you run a whole group to basically police what people say about Jews, you have insane ethnic pride, way more than me. So because you have a lot of ethnic pride and you care about your group more than anyone else, it's my fault? What? You're allowed to attack me, but I'm not allowed to defend myself? It's my fault? You do that, but I say I disagree with the speech law and it's my fault? I notice media statistics and you cry and it's my fault? These people are projecting because they have psychotic amounts of ethnic pride, which would be fine if they just had that pride and just left everybody alone, but they constantly have to pick on people and try to bully people and use their ethnic pride and allegiance to a foreign country to bully American citizens who don't have the same. I don't hate any foreign country. I don't hate any group of people. I'm an American citizen. I believe in the First Amendment. And I think that exaggerating about hate speech and racism actually makes situations worse. Exaggerating about everything doesn't help. If you call everything racist, it doesn't mean anything anymore. If toilet paper is racist and it's a microaggression and you didn't say anything, the word has no meaning anymore. It's the same with anti-Semitism. It doesn't mean anything if you're going to overuse it. Well, it's a trope. What is a trope? What is a trope? Tell me what a trope is. Well, it's when you say something. Say what though? Tell me something, a subject. They can't say anything. This guy, Brandon, who used to be somebody I talked to, now constantly libels me and defames me as a Jew hater because he's an American Israeli dual citizen with dual loyalty who just feels the need to smear good American citizens. But whatever, he's out here and he's like, well, why don't people accuse Italian Americans of dual loyalty and dual citizenship? It's like, well, let's look at not just Congress, but all politicians. There's dozens, if not hundreds, across the political atmosphere in America of people who have Israel passports and American passports, and that's just what it is. There's not as many people that have Italian and American passports. And if they did, and every time you mentioned it, say there was an Italian American that had an Italy passport and an American passport, and they kept doing things for Italy over America, and you pointed it out, and they called you anti-Italiophobe, and you're an Italiophobe, and they passed speech laws for Italy, I would say the same thing. I'm part Italian, but I don't have loyalty to Italy. I have loyalty to America. That's the only country I have loyalty. I don't have anywhere else to go. With that being said, if that happened, I would call out Italy or Ukraine or anyone. People don't call out Israel more than other countries because they hate you and they hate you. You're a liar. You're a pathological, deceitful liar if you think that. It's because it's happening more. In politics, you don't find that many other countries. Dr. Oz had dual passports to Turkey and America. I talked about it often. I liked him better than Fetterman, but it is alarming that he's voting in a foreign election. I didn't go soft on him just because it's Turkey. No, it's a little odd when you have two passports. It's worth questioning. But it's like people don't want to have self-awareness and self-accountability. They want to exaggerate, lie, smear people, cry, create entire groups based on their ethnicity, bully other people, and then cry anti-Semitism when somebody defends themselves. I'm not Nick Cannon. I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not going on a tour. I'm not being bullied into groveling on my knees. Leave me alone, you deceitful liars. And that's not everybody, just you. It's not everybody of your race, it's you. It's not every group, it's you. It's insane. It's like saying, oh, you shouldn't talk about Ukraine, you should talk about other countries. Well, Ukraine's doing more right now. Doesn't mean all Ukrainians are bad. Do I hate all Ukrainians because I want to end the war? Of course not. I don't hate Ukrainians or Russians. A lot of people do. The craziest part is a lot of people do. A lot of people who like Ukraine, they hate Russians. A lot of people who like Russia hate Ukraine. I don't. Don't drag me into this. I know that there's millions of good people in Ukraine, and I know that there's millions of good people in Russia, and I'm sad that both sides have to die over a fake war, probably for bankers in the military-industrial complex in foreign countries. With that being said, there's good people there. But if you criticize Ukraine, it doesn't mean you hate Ukrainians. Jewish people and Jewish groups, not all, but many, they do this way too much. You criticize George Soros, they call you an anti-Semite. You talk about lobbying laws, they call you an anti-Semite. You agree with one thing that Kanye says, and you must agree with everything he's ever said. You must be him. Okay, you drink water. Hitler drank water. Are you Hitler? You drink water. There's a similarity. I'm not responsible for what every man says. If Trump says something I agree with, I'm allowed to say I agree. If he says something I disagree with, I'm allowed to say I disagree. If AOC wants to get stocks out of Congress, I agree with that. Does that mean I agree with AOC? No, I can't stand her. I despise her. I think she's possessed by a demon. But if she's right about one thing, I'm allowed to come out and say I agree with it. I don't have to condemn everything that's ever said. I don't condemn. What does that mean? If I disagree, I say I disagree. If I agree, I say I agree. What does condemn mean? You guys are so self-righteous. This stupid group, Stop Anti-Semitism, they put a bench like in Florida or something. They're like, look, we have a bench. Like, you're so fake that you think putting a bench with words on it is going to stop hate in this world. Doesn't do anything. Wow, now you have a bench? You think anybody that actually is hateful is going to look at a bench and be like, oh, I was hateful, but now I looked at a bench and I've cleared my mind. No, being a good person stops hate. Being honest stops hate. Being transparent stops hate. And at the end of the day, some people are just bad hombres for whatever reason, and I don't know that a bench or a podcast is going to do anything about it, but you can try, and the best way to try is to be a good person, an honest person, and gain people's respect. If you don't do that and you constantly just exaggerate and cry victim, it doesn't make people like you. And to make false equivalent, well, why don't you say this about them? Well, what are they doing? As far as I know, Republicans and Democrats try to pass loyalty speech laws to Israel. That's nothing to do with what I think about Jews or Israelis. Honestly, I don't blame Israelis for legislation that American politicians pass. I blame America. I'm not the victim. I don't feel oppressed. I'm annoyed at my politicians the same way a lot of Israelis are mad at their politicians. If Israel is too cozy to another country, you have every right as an Israeli citizen to be upset at that. It doesn't mean you hate the other group of people. It's just like your politicians are supposed to serve you. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can't then say I hate an entire group of people because I speak about that. I absolutely don't. I'm just tired of double standards. Here's double standards, for example. If you're in the NBA, you can get on your knee and do a BLM thing, right? That's fine, even though it's a Marxist left-wing organization. Sure, okay, you can do activism. But if you make a joke about the rainbow people, you get fined. If you post an Amazon link and you're Kyrie Irving, you tell them to get back in line. There have been more egregious rhetoric and bad things done, but you don't whip these people and put them back in line. But I know the victim thing. I see what's going on, and it's not everyone's fault. I'm not blaming every person for this. Every person of every race isn't responsible for like everything. I don't think that. But at the high levels of it, you have two victim cards, right? Three, I would say. The LGBTQ victim card, everything's transphobic. Even if you're trying to save a young kid from getting his genitals chopped off, you must hate everybody. It's not true. You just believe that kids shouldn't do that. Doesn't mean you hate every person in the world. It just means you don't like that. If you disagree with certain activism and backwards, dishonest stuff, doesn't mean you hate all of Black America or Africa. It just means you disagree with that political activism. And, you know, when it comes to, I would say, high-level Jewish executives, they constantly flex that their victim card is the hardest. They will allow Black athletes and Black musicians to criticize white people to all the time. They can say whatever they want about white people. Europeans, they can say whatever they want. But if they ever cross the line and say the same thing that they do about white to Jewish, these executives make it known that they're not allowed to do that. I see the double standards. And all I'm saying is if you're a Jewish organization or a Jewish executive and you have deep ethnic pride and you don't want people to talk about you a certain way or question you, then don't act so shocked and cry racism when European people say, hey, we want the same thing. We don't want people to talk about us that way. Oh, well, that makes you a racist. It's racist when you do it, but when we do it, it's anti-Semitism policing. I know what you're doing. We all know what you're doing. It's very dishonest. It's very disingenuous. And everybody's not doing it. Everyone's not to blame. Every Catholic is not responsible for what the Vatican's doing. Every Jew is not responsible for what Netanyahu does. And every, a lot of Jewish people don't even like the ADL and groups like that. But in general, the truth is it's all double standards. If you can basically say whatever you want, hate, lie, blame everything on it, and then if people defend themselves, you call them a racist, it doesn't make sense. You should be the most understanding if you're also doing that with your ethnic group or your religion. But it's the double standards that are really bothering people. If Black groups and Black organizations could do this stuff, people wouldn't care if you didn't cry racism when they disagree or you didn't cry racism when they did that. It's the double standards and the hypocrisy that are ticking people off. I don't care if you have loyalty to a foreign country. It's your prerogative. I'm not telling you who you should like or love, but if you do, you can't cry hate speech when people notice that you're doing it. And you can't say that that person hates everybody. It's not true. And doing that doesn't make people like you more. So, I see the whole thing, but to the group Stop Anti-Semitism, I'm sure they won't, but I would invite one of their representatives to come on my podcast. Let's have a conversation. I'm not afraid about it. I'm not a hateful person. I'm not a nasty person. I'm a friendly person. Some of the nicest people to me in my life and most thoughtful and most, I would say, generous people in my life have been Jewish. It's not like I've lived a horrible life and I've been scorned and I don't hate anybody. I know there's good people of every race and religion. I've hang out with them. I see them. You're not Netanyahu and you're not the ADL. It's like, I get it. With that being said, I'm no pushover. So if they want to post my podcast as if it's some huge gotcha moment, why don't you come on the show and bring your smartest, most intelligent representative to have a conversation with me? Let's talk about anti-Semitism. Let's talk about hate. Let's talk about violence, because I don't like hate or violence. But when you constantly exaggerate and bully people with this word and lie and exaggerate and everything is hate and you become annoying and psychotic, you're not helping. You're not actually a good person. You're not an honest person, and you're doing a disservice to everyone. When people disagree with me, they're disagreeing with me. I don't put my entire race as the forefront and say, oh, if you disagree with me, you must hate all white people. Like, I've never done that. It's like, these are my opinions. Yeah, there's some similarities with other Christians and other people in my race, but in general, it's not everybody's fault. With that being said, when you do that, you kind of bear more responsibility. In my opinion, if you're a Black group and you say, I'm doing this on behalf of Black America, well, now you're putting your whole race in front of you. You have even more responsibility to be honest, likable, cool, respectable, trustworthy. Because if you're not, now you're not only smearing your own character and making your own self look like an idiot, you're throwing your entire ethnicity under the bus. the ADL and groups like this are doing a massive, massive disservice to their own group. But honestly, I don't think they care. I don't think they have self-awareness. I don't think they have self-accountability. And in my opinion, that's something that will haunt them till the end of time. Because at the end of the day, everybody needs self-awareness and self-accountability. If you constantly deceive, if you constantly exaggerate, you play the victim, you take no accountability, and you just lash out at others who speak about it, it's not going to work. It's a terrible, horrible strategy, but it seems to be one that some people do. It's just the truth. So, everyone doesn't do that. Everybody needs to take accountability. This is something that applies to everybody. But when you hear the rhetoric of some of these groups, it's like, do you have even an ounce of honesty in you left, or no? You don't. There's nothing. There's no. You just want to. It's crazy. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna read a few comments, and then I'm going to roll out. Appreciate you guys. God bless. And once again, there's beautiful people everywhere. There's not so beautiful people everywhere, internally, externally, whatever. But, the best way to quash hate in this world is to actually just be cool and likable and honest. You can't just be annoying and cringe and psychotic and expect everyone to just like you. It's not how any of this stuff works. Someone said racism has become a tool to cripple anyone. Meghan Markle accused the royal family of being racist, but provided no proof. Well, these people have become so delusional. It's called being self-righteous too. If you think you're so much better, they're projecting onto you what they think. They have massive ethnic pride when most people actually don't. They have massive delusion that they think they're so much more important than you because they're fighting racism, and they're everything that they claim to hate. If I wanted to actually solve the problem, I just put a mirror in front of these people. The problem is you're fighting your own spirit and blaming others. Yeah, there's bad people in every group, but you're also a problem. So in general, with the Meghan Markle stuff, it's like these type of people have told themselves, I'm fighting racism, so nothing, I don't need to be accountable. I don't need to be accurate. Like with my news journalism, I try to be accurate. If I'm not accurate, I'm not doing my job. I don't come out here and be like, and this is a lot of truthers and right-wingers do this, honestly, and it annoys me. They're like, well, I'm not the left, so I could just be sloppy. It's like, well, you're not, your like worth is not just measured by the left. It's like, you should try to be accurate and honest too. Because if you're not accurate and honest and you think you're better than them, you become the problem. You become a liar. You're just a red liar and they're a blue liar. Honestly, that's most people nowadays. Well, I don't need to really tell the truth. I can just say whatever because I'm the right or I'm the left. It's like, no, that's not how any of this stuff works. But the Meghan Markle types of the world, they just think, it's like nowadays you talk to most left-wing racial activists and they'll say, oh, well, white people, you can't be racist against white people because they have systemic power. And to that I ask, just to bring it up, what about Jewish? Because Jewish people have a lot of power in this country. It's just true. Does that apply to them? No, of course it doesn't. They would cry anti-Semitism. So it's like Jewish people can be in many powerful positions, but everything's anti-Semitic, but you can't be racist towards somebody that's white because they have systemic power. If that were true, then there would be no such thing as racism towards Jewish people, but that would destroy the entire, fabric of, networking they have over hate speech and stuff. So it's like that doesn't apply. And I'm not saying it's true. I don't think no matter how rich or poor or how much power a group has or not, I don't think it makes hate or evil good. So I actually disagree with that premise. But if they truly believe that premise that white people can't be, hated on because they have too much systemic power, then that would apply to Jewish people as well. But if you say that, they'll freak out and just be like, no. Only it's like, but how many left-wing people that are Jewish and black and other ethnicities, even white, they'll say, oh, you can do whatever you want to white people because you can't be racist against them because they have systemic power. It's like, I don't actually believe in that. I don't care how much power white people have or Christians or Jewish or Asian or whatever. It doesn't mean good is good, evil is evil. You shouldn't hate somebody because they're wealthy or successful or have systemic power. The truth is the truth. So the fact that so many people have brainwashed themselves into thinking that you can just beat down at white people because it's not even possible for you to be wrong, it's made people terrible. It's like, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. Like, you need to live a life of truth and you need to try to be a good person. Like, imagine if you're such a bad person, which most left-wingers have become, because they're like, I don't even have to treat these people with honesty or respect because they're just bad. Their whole existence is bad. And anything I say has to be right because I'm the good guy in this situation. That's what they're telling themselves. And I don't wish that on anyone. I don't think that anyone should treat anyone like that. I don't think that people should treat Jewish people like that, Christians like that, white people, Asian, Hispanic. Like, you shouldn't look at someone and be like, well, I could just say whatever I want about them and it's got to be good because they're so unworthy because of their systemic powers that I don't have. It's like, that's such an evil way of thinking. It doesn't matter who you're talking about. You can't treat people like that. But so many left-wingers and so many racial activists in black and Jewish groups have told themselves that we're just going to shit on these people every day, all day. And if they ever defend themselves, we're going to call them racism or anti-Semitism. And, these rules only apply to them because we look at them with no worth and we have more worth and we have a victim card, but they don't. So they can't do what we do, but we can do it. That's like every group. I don't care if you're black or Jewish and you have massive ethnic pride. I don't care. But if you do that, your whole existence can't be policing other people to stop them from doing it, because then you just turn into a psychopath. It's like, we want to stop you from doing what we're doing. We're allowed to do it because we're special, but you can't do it because you're racist. It's like, these are the Meghan Markle types of the world. It's like, they don't have to be honest. They don't have to be accurate. Well, that's racist. Toilet paper's racist. That's an anti-Semitic trope. There's real hate in this world. There's real evil in this world. You can't be just scrummaging through someone who says something that you slightly don't like, even though it's true, because now it bothers you because it reminds you of another time. It's like, that's not how this stuff works. You can't say that that's a micro. I mean, what you said is true, but it's still racist because it hurt. It's like, what are we doing here? But the reason they think this stuff is because they've told themselves that they're so much better than you that no matter what they say, it's okay. And no matter what you do, you're still a bad person. I mean, it's evil. And then someone said you're talking S. What I'm saying is true, though. And honestly, I would say that a lot of the LGBT and transgender rate is due to this type of logic. I mean, imagine growing up, no matter who you are, doesn't matter what race you are, but especially if you're told white people are bad, white men are bad. I mean, this is like the narrative in liberal communities, and they're just like, you can't escape racism. You're just racist. Just your existence is racist. Do you want to grow up as a racist person? Or do you want to say, you know what, I'm gay or I'm trans or I'm a woman now and I feel now I'm a victim. I bet you a lot of kids, I'm not saying all of it, but in general, a lot of kids are trying to escape this thing that people are telling them that their skin is evil, their gender is evil, their existence is evil, their ancestors are evil. It's like, well, let me find something that makes me not so bad so people leave me alone. I'm not saying every person's transitioning for that reason, and I'm not saying every kid's identifying as LGBTQ for this reason, but a lot are. And a lot more than a lot of people want to talk about. And Big Pharma's making a cash cow off it. The left is completely just doesn't want to talk about it. I'm not saying every person's doing this for this reason, but if I grew up and I didn't have confidence and I was confused and I'm being told that my mere existence is bad because I could never get over that, like imagine if you told a kid, you're poor, you're always going to be poor, you never can do, like that's not the case in anything. It doesn't matter what race you are, religion. There's NBA players that are Asian. There's NBA players that are from Israel. There's NBA players that are under 6 feet tall. It doesn't matter who you are. If you work hard enough and you're good enough and you're athletic, you can achieve things. That's what you want to tell kids. You can do it. You can overcome your oppression. You can overcome the hate. You're telling these kids, you can't, there's nothing you can do to not be racist. You're stuck that way forever. Your ancestors are bad. You're bad. You could be nice, but you're always going to have bad thoughts in your head. Why not transition? Why not say you're gay? Now I'm this. Now I have a new victim. Now I'm fighting those people. Now I'm on the good guy's side. It's psychological manipulation of these kids where a lot of them are identifying this way to escape this idea that they're somehow inherently bad for their skin color or their gender, which they didn't choose. And just like people say, I believe truly from the bottom of my heart and soul, I believe that it's evil to look at somebody who's ethnically Jewish or black or European and say that person's bad because of who they were born as. I think that's evil. I don't care if a white person does it to a Jew. I don't care if a Jew does it to a European who doesn't identify. It's evil. People didn't choose to be that way. Your gender, your ethnic group, you didn't choose that. You were born that way. So it's evil to just tell someone right there off their whole existence because of who they are. I don't believe that. But the thing is, some of these groups, and I'm not going to say these people, but some of these groups that try to smear me or cry, they do that. They literally look at entire groups of people and say, you're stuck that way. You could try, you could work hard, you could do this, but you're always going to have a little bit of that in you. It's like, damn, a lot, that angle is an angle that a lot of people don't see. And at the end of the day, I don't like the fact that you can make organizations for certain things, but other things are like, this is just the reality of the situation. And you could say that this is justified because of where my ancestors come from and they're just inherently bad. I mean, but that's evil. You could say that, but it's evil. Anyway, there's entire organizations, thousands of organizations that they're looking for black rights, black businesses, black people. They're trying to advance the interests of anybody who's black. It doesn't matter if you were born in America. Doesn't matter if you're from Africa. Black, it's a huge net. They don't care if you're from Nigeria. They're casting a huge net and they're looking out for black interests. Most of them are not doing a good job. They're doing counterproductive jobs, but that's what they're trying to do. In some cases it works. And then there's thousands of groups that do that for Jewish people, not just religious Jewish people, but ethnically Jewish people. It's an ethnic thing, okay? For a lot of these groups. They don't care if you're atheist and Seth Rogen, you're still a victim of anti-Semitism. But anyway, they try to advance the interests of their people. They police what people say about them. They do all this stuff, right? I don't actually have a problem with that. But how many of these groups would say, oh, Europeans are doing that? That's fine. None of them. They would call them Nazis. They would call them racist. They would say that that's evil. Why is it not evil when you do it, but it's evil when other people do it? Oh, because we've brainwashed ourselves into thinking that you're just evil, your existence is evil, your people are evil, everything you do is evil, and even when you work really hard to be a great person, you're still a bad person because of who you are. So that's why you're not allowed to do that, because that would be racist. But when we do it, it's just what we do. And that's the systemic, I would say, double standards and hypocrisy in America. That's not my calling. My calling is not to make a group for my race. It's just not. My group's not even for my religion right now. Maybe one day I could be a pastor for all Christians, but that's just not who I am right now. That's not my calling. Some people are called to do that. I'm not. So I'm not saying I want to do that, because I actually don't. If I wanted to do it, I'd do it. Trust me. I don't. It's not who I am. But I see that some groups can do it and some groups can't. It's not fair, and it's causing a lot of hate. It's causing a lot of people, there's more and more people that are now being like, they are getting hateful, they are getting angry. It doesn't mean it's right. I still disagree with it. In my opinion, don't let Satan bring you into that hate and anger. You can be righteous without being hateful and angry. You shouldn't buy into that, because that's weakness, in my opinion. If you're that angry and hateful, it's weakness. It's not strength. It's like, you're mad, okay, get over it and be productive. But anyway, that's going on. And when I notice it, when I talk about it, they try to say I'm racist. They try to say I'm anti-Semitic. I mean, I'm obviously not. I just see through the double standards and hypocrisy. And it's always people with more ethnic pride than me. Well, if ethnic pride is so racist, wouldn't that make you more racist than me? Well, no, we've brainwashed ourselves into thinking that we don't do it, but it's like, okay, you make groups for your entire ethnic group. Isn't that like not allowed? No, well, no, it's allowed when we do it, but just not if you did it. Well, this is why a lot of people are growing to hate you, because you're hypocritical. As far as, black activists who want to segregate black people from white people, it's not my thing per se, but I'm not going to call you a racist. A lot of people will. I won't. I think that word is overused. I don't know how much hate you have in your heart. I don't know how you really feel. So I'm not just going to write everything off as racist. I don't do that. But in general, if you're a black activist that wants to segregate black people and live with only black people, I actually don't care. I'm not here to tell you who you should want to, I'm not the police of your mind. With that being said, if you do that, and then you call everyone else racist for doing it, you're just a liar, You're just a hypocrite. It's like the Colin Kaepernicks of the world, who he's part white, raised by white people, but, Anyway, if you ever put a white Colin Kaepernick who felt the same way about white people as he does about black people, he would call them a racist. So in my opinion, psychologically, Colin Kaepernick isn't fighting the world, he's fighting himself. Because If you could clone Colin Kaepernick and everything he says about black people, you chose another race, mostly white, he would be like, that person's evil, that person's race. Well, that person's actually you. We actually just cloned you and copy pasted everything you did. We just put it in a European, which you also are, by the way. It's like he would freak out. So he's at war with himself. He's like, if he was doing all that stuff, but he's like, if I'm going to do it, I understand other people are going to want to do what I'm doing. Like, why wouldn't they? If I feel that way about my, broad ethnic group, why can't other people feel that way about their broad ethnic group? He doesn't do that. Most people don't do that. That's my whole issue. It's like, it's the hypocrisy of it. It's the double standards of it. And it's just the sheer, like, I don't know another word for it, but it's like you do all that stuff and that's fine. But if someone else did it, it's the end of the world. It's terrible. And at the end of the day, it's always people with more ethnic pride than me. I don't care how much. You could be Irish and say, I love being Irish. You could be Italian and say, there are people like that. Because I'm so many different things. I'm Italian, I'm Polish, I'm Czechoslovakian, I'm part Puerto Rican. I don't know. I'm in so many different ways. Like, I love Italian food. I love, Polish food. I love kielbasa. I love pierogies. But it's like, because I'm different European things and part Puerto Rican, it's like, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of ethnic, like, I appreciate my ancestors. I don't hate myself. I'm not trying to take pharma pills and transition myself because they told me to hate myself or anything. But in general, I'm not like, I appreciate my ancestors. I appreciate my family. But if you told me a list of 10 things that are interesting about me, I don't think my race would be on it because I don't think it's what's interesting about me. So I don't really have that much. But if someone does, I'm not going to call you a racist. If you're white, black, Asian, and you feel that way, I'm not going to call you a racist. But if you're going to call everyone else a racist when you do that, like, who do you think has more ethnic pride? Me or Stop Anti-Semitism, the organization? Obviously them. Their whole life exists around policing their ethnic group. That's their whole existence. Their whole business is basically scouring the internet, trying to exaggerate about something so they could bully other people because they love their people and they probably like a foreign country more than America. That's their whole existence. Fine. I don't care. But stop lying about me then. What's because I did a podcast with Candace and you took it out of context. She says she doesn't even realize Prager's Jewish. She wasn't saying that like it's so shocking. We were talking about race not being the main factor of how cool you are. So in context, it wasn't that crazy. And speech policing in general, it's like, what matters? What you say or what you do? I could be the greatest person ever. I could fly over. I could live in, like, imagine this. I'm like, this is not what I am, but I'm just saying in general. It's like, I'm an African advocate. I go over there. Imagine I gave electricity to Nigeria. It's like, I solved all the problems of Africa. I'm not saying in a hypothetical world. I literally saved millions of lives in Africa. Like, really did it. I'm not talking like fake charity. I saved Africa, like, and lost all my wealth to save that. And then I came over and just say they found an old recording of me where I said the N-word. I'm not saying that they have one. I'm just saying, like, they would be like, oh, he hates all black people. It's like, but I just saved the whole continent. And I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm just saying that's the world we live in. People care more about what you say than what you do. And that situation proves it. You could literally save the entire continent, feed millions of children, love people with your true heart, and actually genuinely love them and understand that there's greatness there. But if you said one word, your whole life would be taken away, and they would say you were the most racist person in the world. That's how crazy words are. It's like Candace Owens can work with Jewish people, like Jewish people, do business with Jewish people, be friends with Jewish people. But if she says one word about Dennis Prager, who she's friends with, that just proves it. Like, these people are psychotic. It's so fake. And it's so counterproductive, I make jokes all the time. My one friend, I haven't seen him in a while because he travels a lot, but, he was in the NBA and he's black and half Asian and he played overseas. Anyway, we would always joke about skin color. Like, if I were to air what we said, I'd be like, oh my God, it's so racist. But it's like, we would joke about being light skinned. It's like people do that all the time in the black community, but it's like, yo, you're light skinned, you're light skinned. I'll be like, just little things that if you're actually comfortable with someone, you can make jokes. I have a Jewish friend. He makes crazy jokes about Jews, honestly, wilder than me. But it's like, he doesn't hate himself. He just doesn't care. You know, it's not like he's not like he's not a ninny. He's just like, his whole life is not defined by what joke he makes. Like, so it's just weird where it's like all these people that police speech. It's like, if you're actually comfortable with someone that's of a different ethnicity than you, you're not afraid to say stuff. Like, to me, I would hate to have a friend of any race that got like mad over anything. You know, one of my favorite neighbors is Jewish, and I like, sometimes I'll talk and be like, yo, they're calling me anti-Semitic again. She's like, you? That's crazy. And it's like, the internet doesn't even exist in my world. It's like, you know, like, because someone that doesn't even know me saw a clip and said something versus who I actually am and who I communicate with, it's so fake. Someone said, tell some Jewish jokes. Oh yeah, that's a good thing for you know, maybe I'll bring on my Jewish friend and let him get my whole account taken down. I'm just kidding, but I would hate to have a friend that was so sensitive that they just thought I hate them all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just made a joke with someone like, you know, I had a Hispanic barista. I just made a joke and I said, I got an Americano. And I said, in Espanol, Americano Estados Unidos Espresso. And she starts cracking up. And then she goes, no, it's Gringo Espresso, which is like, could be considered racist, like, right? White espresso, haha, white people espresso. But it's not racist because America, most people are white in America. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a funny, like, just make fun of. It's not even making fun of. It's just like a joke. But you like, oh my gosh, you hate Mexicans. You hate the country. It's like, no. I don't know. It's just so cringe. But luckily in my personal world, I just don't have friends that are that fake. Because if your friend is that fake, then it's like, you know, they're probably gonna get mad at you at some point for something that doesn't make sense. Gringo just means foreign. Well, I'm pretty sure gringo means white, but if America's a majority white, it's not offensive. It's like, that's accurate, unless it's like a slur. I don't know. Words in other languages don't bother me though. I don't think it's like, I call myself, when I play soccer with all Spanish people, I call myself like Gringo Loco and Gringo Magnifico. Like, I start saying that to them and they're like, ha ha ha. You know, they're like, okay, whatever. It's kind of funny. Let's see. Someone said I'm okay with blonde jokes and attorney jokes and California jokes. I'm all three. Well, everyone knows blondes are super dumb. No, I'm just kidding. I can joke about blondes because they're not as sensitive as black and Jewish groups, so it's not as edgy. But I'm not gonna like dunk on it and then lie about it. Like, you know, like sometimes when Tim Pool had Ye on, it really annoyed me because Ye was like saying like Jewish executives, and he's like, well, why do you say that? And he's like, I don't understand. Groups don't exist. And I'm like, Tim, you always talk about groups though. I understand what you're saying, but really like, and then as soon as Ye left, he's like, well, white Antifa, white people run Antifa. All white people, Tim? Do all white people run Antifa? Do I get offended? Well, I'm not in Antifa. I'm white. No, I know what Tim's talking about. He's saying white people are in Antifa. But Tim has no problem using groups generically when it's white people because Tim knows that dunking on white people is easier to do. So he'll do that and then act oblivious because he knows if Tim ever did the same thing he does with white people to Jewish people, Tim knows that a lot of his network would crumble and, you know, he would lose a lot of social relationships. So it's like, you know, he knows just generalize white people, but never mention the Jewish aspect of Black Lives Matter, which honestly is massively prevalent. And I'm not being hateful. It's just like the guy who puppeted Patrisse Cullors, his last name was Mann. I've watched a full video. Being raised Jewish was very pivotal to his ideology. Not saying everyone is raised that way. They're not. But like, he's a lot more Jewish than he is white. That's just the truth. That's accurate history. Black Lives Matter, the people kind of manipulating Patrisse Cullors and them was, I mean, watch some of my old clips about that. It's like, it's not hateful. Just like calling them white, but people will just say white because it's easier. And you could say white, you don't have to specify, but it does make a difference in my opinion if you're trying to be accurate, because if you listen to some of these people, they make it known that they're not white and they make it known like what they think of the goyim. Like he uses the word goyim in his thing, which means non-Jew. So it's like, you know, a lot of these people will be like, you know, You'll be like, I'm white, and you'll be like, you're white, and they're like, well, I'm not white. I'm not, so it's like it's different for them. They Stop Anti-Semitism isn't running a page that's trying to protect me. They're trying to bash me and protect their ethnic group. So it matters because they're very ethnically central. Not everybody, not everyone feels that way, but a lot of these groups, they're not. ADL is not running around fighting for Europeans. They're fighting for their ethnicity specifically. And when it comes to other ethnicities, it's like, whatever, yeah, we'll do things for black people or whatever. But, they're like, we're left wing, or we're not left wing, we're fighting, oppression. And, they pretend to do all the activism, but it is what it is. Let me see. Someone said Tim Pool poops in his beanie. That's not true. Fact check, false. Listen, don't say Tim Pool poops in his beanie. He does not poop in his beanie. Tim Pool has a toilet, okay? He's just like everyone else. Please do not, on my channel, push information about Tim pooping in a beanie because it's just not true, okay? You don't have to like his show. You don't have to like him, but we can't spread misinformation. Tim is a good businessman. He runs a good business. He's got some good takes, and he most certainly does not poop in his beanie, okay? That's just disrespectful. Someone said, goodbye, this entire video is about racism and how black people have more privileges. I definitely did not say that. I don't even think that even crossed my mind. So I'm not saying people have more privileges. I'm just saying when it comes to speech policing, there's a difference. And when it comes to what organization you can make, there is a difference. I'm not saying that there's different privileges for different things. If you're tall, you have the privilege of being able to dunk. If you're small, you have the privilege of being able to get to a cabinet faster. It's like there's pros and cons to everything in this world, man and women. Everybody has some sort of privilege. That's just the truth. Like there's always going to be a good and a bad thing about something. But in general, I'm just saying if you're a black person and you want to start a black organization for black people and black businesses, you can do that. If you're a white person and you want to start a white organization for white businesses, you will have a very hard time doing that. Let's just put it that way. Does that mean that everything is... No, there's pros and cons to everything. Everything comes at a cost. So I'm not in no way, shape, or form am I saying that you're more privileged. It's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's pros and cons to everything in this world. If you're a woman, you have the privilege of... If you're a hot woman, you have the privilege of getting into a club easier. It's like if you're like a 1 out of 10 extremely ugly woman, you have the privilege of not being bothered as much, where like maybe a hot woman's like, I don't like all this attention. Yeah, sure you don't, Becky. That's why you got big old tank. Yeah, I'm sure you don't want the attention. So it's like there's always going to be a pro and a con. Some people are like, I wish I had less attention. Well, then be ugly. Then you have ugly person privilege. No one cares. You're super good looking, then you get treated differently. You're a man, you get treated differently. You're a woman, you get treated differently. Black, white, Asian, Jewish, there's certain elements you could use a victim card. You could be like, oy vey, that's anti-Semitic, or like, it's like I'm part Puerto Rican, and it's like it's not really a victim card, but it's like a Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm mostly white, but I could be like, I'm part Puerto Rican. And then they invite me to the White House. I mean, that's messed up. Why is there, God forbid there was a European History Month, people would freak out. I think they have like a Greek one or whatever, but in general, it's like I could use that part of my ethnicity to get something. I'm aware of that. They told me to do that on my college thing, and I never wanted to. I would always just put other, but it's like put Hispanic down because they'll give you a scholarship. A lot of the system is anti-white, and it's discriminating against white people. If you're black and a transgender activist or whatever, and you put that on your college resume, I think you're getting a little bit of special privileges over a straight white man. And white people are starting to get annoyed at that. They're starting to get pissed off about the manipulation of society. It doesn't mean that everything's better, everything's worse, or there's not privilege that a white person has, but in general, everyone's a person. You got to overcome your obstacles and be yourself. So I'm not playing the victim or saying this person's better than that person. I'm just saying in general, there's certain privileges to certain things. And systemically, when it comes to school, as somebody that has two ethnicities that I could pull from, I understand that white people are 1,000% being discriminated against in the school system. And sometimes Asian are too, because they do so well, schools don't want so many Asians because they're crushing too hard. So it's like, let's get some other people in here, So there's things that go in your favor and there's things that don't. I feel like I have the privilege of blending into most communities. Like I look very ambiguous, and it's a pro and a con. It's like if I went to I don't know, like Poland, it's like I might not look that Polish and people might look at me weird. But if I'm in like a Spanish neighborhood, I look kind of Spanish so I could like fit in. When I'm with Armenians, they think I'm Armenians. Muslims think I'm Muslim. People just tend to think I could look like I could be Greek, So it's like there are good things about that, but then there's things that aren't. Someone said I never check boxes for race. Yeah, I don't do it either. But I used to just put white on my thing because I'm like, I don't want to put Spanish, or I'd put other and not answer. But I don't want to like, I don't think that's fair to just be like, oh, I'm 1/8 black. I want to be black. Like, it's just messed up. But for the record, I did not say that black people are more privileged and that it's like, that's not true. There's pros and cons to everything. There's certain things that are not ideal in every community, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying your life's easy because of that. That's not what life's about. I'm just saying group wise, you cannot be a white group looking out for white interests. It doesn't work that way. You could be Jewish, you could be black. I guess you could probably be like Irish, or, you could like break down into a sub-European thing and probably get away with it. But as far as like white, you can't do that. You could do black though, but you can't do white. That's just true with a lot of organizations. Like, I don't know. It's going to be a lot harder of a path, in my view, in this country. Just an observation. I don't know. There's certain things that I notice. It's like, let's see. Someone said we're all slaves to the system. That's a bleak way to look at it, though. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's definitely like the system is kind of beating down on everyone, but we have to rise above. It could be harder. There's always a system. There's always crazy things going on. Like, life was never easy. I know people like to go back to the past and like, oh, it was really good back then. A lot of people could not exist 60 years ago. It was a lot tougher. People were a lot harder on each other. So at the end of the day, I think that we don't need to play the victims to the system. We just need to, work hard and rise above and understand that God is great. Someone said I was married to a white Christian, or my ex was a Christian ethnic Jew. Well, yeah, because Jewish is an ethnicity. So there's a lot of Messianic Jews, I think. They're like Christian Jews. That's what they call them, Messianic Jews. Jewish is an ethnicity and a religion. To me, in my view, it's mostly an ethnicity. I didn't understand this years ago, but most Jewish people are not religiously Jewish. They're ethnically Jewish, and a lot are atheists. Some are Christian. Some are, trying to practice Judaism. But a lot of these organizations, people just think, oh, it's like a religion, but it's mostly a race, in my opinion. But some people do both. Like Ben Shapiro is ethnically Jewish, and he's religiously Jewish. Seth Rogen is ethnically Jewish and smokes a lot of pot. Some people are Jewish and they're Christian. They believe in Christ and they have, given their life to the Lord, but they're still ethnically Jewish. So that's, it's an interesting religion, because it's a religion, in my view, based off of race for the most part. So that's why it's harder to convert. You can become a Muslim. You just have to give your life up to Allah. You can become a Christian. You got to give your life up to Jesus Christ. There's a few things you have to follow, but the Christians and Muslims are actively like recruiting. They're like, yo, be like us. Jewish, it's a hard process to convert to a Jew. It's a lot more difficult. They put you through a lot more tests. And in my view, the reason for it is because it's really a religion based off ethnicity. So if you're not ethnically born Jewish, especially from your mother's side, you can convert, but I don't think that like the top Jews are going to be like, oh, you're super Jewish. It's like, no, you're never going to be Jewish because you're not ethnically Jewish. That's my view of it. I'm not the police of it. I don't really care. It's not my place to judge others. That's just how I see it. I think it's a religion that's heavily based off the ethnic group. So And that's not hateful. It's just reality. That's why there's not that many converts. You almost have to like be married to someone and then like really be put through a process in order to convert. You'll find a lot of people converting, and it's like they marry someone that's in it, and then they go through a heavy process, and they're vetted in order to follow the steps, whatever those steps are. Someone said it's your place to judge. Well, I'm just saying I'm not the police of what it means to be Jewish. I'm not sitting here saying this makes you like I'm not Jewish. I'm not practicing Judaism, so it really isn't my place. I'm observing what I've seen and saying this is what it looks like to me. But there's just like in Christianity, you'll find three pastors debating about what that chapter means. There's obviously debate in the Jewish world to what does it mean to be Jewish? What do you need to follow? Do you need to follow the Talmud? Do you need to follow the Zohar? Do you just need to have your mom be Jewish? Don't think for a second that there's not debates going on in the Jewish world. And, I think just like Christianity, sometimes it's such a mysterious religion or race that like people just assume that everyone agrees on everything, but they of course don't. Just like within Christians, there's different subsects. There's people that think it means this or that. It's the same thing with Jewish. If you went to Israel, you have your heavy Hasidic Jews who like really believe and they want to outlaw Christianity in some cases in Congress or whatever, the Knesset. And then you have liberal Jews, atheist Jews, the ones that are crying, left-wing ones, ones that are right-wing but not so extreme. There's always going to be a dynamic. It's not like everybody's united under. I think Jewish stuff is so mysterious because they're constantly like not talking about it, but just calling everybody anti-Semitic, that I think that a lot of people just their head goes to like the worst interpretation of it, and everybody's doing it, and that's partially because it's never really talked about. Like these groups like Stop Anti-Semitism, they could heal anti-Semitism if they actually had an honest conversation between three rabbis. That would be a lot more productive than yelling at Candace Owens on Twitter. Like that doesn't make people like you or trust you. They fill in the gaps because they don't know what's going on, because it's like such a mysterious thing that nobody ever talks about. But I guess like that'll happen with every religion or group. Like people will be like, oh, well, the Muslims must be lying to me because of taqiyya. Like I've heard that a bunch of times. Like, oh, Muslims are allowed to lie to me. They're all lying. Like people that sometimes they just go to like the craziest interpretation of something and just assume everybody's doing it. I don't believe that. I don't believe all Muslims are lying because of taqiyya. I understand that there's heavy debate about what it means to be Jewish in the Jewish world. In Israel, there are different ideologies battling with how to run the country. And in America, Catholics, Christians, I mean, there's thousands of debates going on about what it means to be a Christian. Some are like, I don't care if you're gay. And others are like, you're going to hell. And, it's like, it would be a lie to say that all Christians are united under the exact same thought process. They should be, but it's just not how it works. There's always going to be interpretations of should you judge? Should you accept that? Should you condemn that? Or should you act like it's fine? Which sin's worse than what? It's a whole thing that I don't, it's funny because when they weren't really smearing me. They were going for Candace. But when people try to say stuff about me, it's like, if you actually listen to my podcast and listen to my energy, I'm really not hateful, and I'm really just discussing maybe taboo topics in a really fair manner. Like I've never been like, oh, everyone's doing this. It's not true. I could lie to you and say that everyone in this country is in on it. They're not, though. They're just not. That's not how it works. Like everyone's not united. It's not true. Everyone of that religion doesn't agree. Everyone of that race isn't in on it. It's just not how it works. So I feel like these people at these activist groups, if it's like, I don't know what they think I am, but it's not the reality. Someone said biblically gay is not acceptable. I wanted to talk about this. Maybe I should do it so deep in the stream because I know that it's so edgy. I see Bryson Gray going at a lot of people right now and basically saying like, there's gay conservatives. I think his name is Conservative Ant. I'm not sure if I met him in person. I think I did at one point. I think he's a super nice guy. If I didn't meet him, maybe we messaged before. I'm trying to think. I know my one friend really likes him. So whenever I saw him or talked to him, I was like, I told him like my one friend really watches you and stuff. I haven't seen your stuff. But anyway, there's a whole debate about like Bryson Gray and a lot of people that are like super Christian are saying that, what I don't know what exactly he's saying because I haven't seen it all, but there's a lot of like Christians that are like, well, that's my friend and how dare you, and they're like, if you're going at him, you're coming at me. So it's created this whole like fraction in the conservative movement. Here's all I'll say about that, because I do have an opinion about it. I'm not a fence sitter, but I'm going to be as kind as I possibly can and thoughtful. I'm not a perfect person. I'm focused on myself. I'm more concerned with the man I want to be versus who other people are. So my main job should be to police myself and not police others. I believe that. So my thought about anyone else doesn't matter as much as who I am, and I believe that, and I don't overly criticize others when it comes to that type of stuff because I try to just live that life. You know what I'm saying? I have a ways to go. I'm more concerned about finding a wife and having children and going that route than I am about what other people are doing. With that being said, if you are a Christian, sodomy is a sin. So I view it this way. You don't have to hate somebody. But to agree with the sin, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. Like gluttony is a sin. I don't hate people that are overweight, and why would I? I mean, that would mean I would hate most of the world at this point. But in general, it's not like I look down on you, but it's like, it's not, if I were to be like, yeah, being 800 pounds is amazing, it's actually not amazing. That's a lie. So on that note, sodomy is a sin, and it doesn't mean that other people don't sin. But if you're going to say, I like him as a person and I pray for him and I like him anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to act like that's an amazing way to live, that's not very Christian in my opinion. It doesn't mean you have to be a hypocrite or be rude, but it's like, I do find when people, like, in my opinion, it would be like being like saying, oh, you're an alcoholic. That's fine. Being an alcoholic's amazing. Being being a drug addict, that's amazing. Being like just banging 10 women a week, that's great. That's so good. Like, you don't have to hate the person doing it, but you could be like, listen, that I don't agree with that, but I still like you and I hope that you fix it, because I think that, constantly doing alcoholism or constantly doing drugs and constantly banging a bunch of women, like, I don't think it's the right solution. I look at sodomy that way. It's like, I'm not going to pretend I have friends that are gay and I don't hate them and I still like them as people, but I'm not one of these Christians that has to be like, oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. It's like, I look at it the same way as like gambling or alcoholism or something else, or just being overly sexual, like banging a bunch of women out of wedlock. And like, I don't think that that's a good lifestyle. I just don't. And I'm not going to pretend to. So, but at the end of the day, it's like, I have things to work on myself. So it's like, when it comes to all of the sins, and also it's like, I want to have a wife and kids eventually, but I'm being selective for a reason that I'm more focused on than what other people are doing. That's my view. But I don't agree with the Christians who are like, that's great, that's fine. It's like, is it though? I mean, you could say it is, but I don't think it is. It's like, if I gamble a lot, am I going to sit there and be like, this is amazing? No, it's actually not. It's a bad habit. I should stop. Like, that's how I view myself. It's like, I don't, I like to gamble sometimes, but it's not like I'm like, this is amazing, this is who I am, I'm a gambler. Like, no, that's not, so when people identify as their sin and they make it their identity, it's actually, I don't have to pretend like I like it, because I don't. But I'm focused on myself and I'm self-aware of my own flaws and stuff, where it's like, yeah, that's not ideal. It could be better, it could be worse. I'm not like that degenerate. I have, I've been smart with my money. I'm very frugal. I don't buy a lot of stuff. I'm not like one that likes, but at the same time, when I do stuff, if I was drinking every day, I'm not going to be like, I'm an alcoholic. This is who I am. This is what I do. It's like, no, that's a bad habit. I want to stop. I think that's kind of my view on it, where I think that Christians have gotten so watered down. They're basically trying to rewrite the Bible to act like something's amazing because they feel hateful about it. It doesn't mean you have to yell at people and preach in their face, but if, like, I'm at the point in my life now is I'm just not going to lie to myself. If I'm going to go around and have sex out of wedlock, which I'm not right now, but if I was, I'm not going to lie and say that that's amazing just because I want it to be. Like, it's not. Maybe I do it because I'm weak. Maybe I do it because I want sexual pleasure, but I'm not going to rewrite the Bible and be like, that's amazing because I want it. It's not amazing. I'm just a flawed person. Just be honest. I'm a flawed person. We're all sinners. We all make mistakes. And we got to do it. Don't be rewriting the Bible being like, no, the sins are actually a good thing now. Like, that's definitely not the route of conservatism, in my opinion. But a lot of people are going that route. And that's why the right is kind of like the left. The left is like, it's amazing to be 500 pounds. Like, it's actually not. It's not only a biblical sin, it's just not comfortable and healthy. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just like gambling too much. It's just like drinking too much. It's not ideal. Doesn't make you bad. Everything's a trade-off, but like, let's not kid ourselves here. So the left pretty much just says everything right is wrong, wrong is right. And the right's just like does 50% of it. And that's, it's just interesting. I'm not one to yell in someone's face though, because it's like, to me, other people play their role. So that is certain people's role. I don't know. I just don't feel called to really do that, where it's like, I think the best way for me to live is to live my life. Like, why would I spend so much energy on that now when I don't even have kids? It's more important for me to have kids and live that life than it is for someone else and tell them how to live. Like, I got, maybe when I get to that point and I've lived the life that I want to live and I've done it all and I've made moves, then maybe I could be a pastor or something. But right now, it's not my place. Someone said, went to a casino on St. Patrick's Day, needed money, and I won 400. Although I feel like it wasn't a good thing, it was fun and able to help family members in need. Donna, congratulations. I mean, everything can be fun in moderation. It's just like, how far do you do it? It's just like, and also, in my view, being self-aware, just being aware. Everybody's not perfect, but just be aware of what you're doing. If you're doing something wrong, just understand that it could be better. You don't have to hate yourself over it, but it's like, I think the issue is when people just embrace what's wrong and they identify their entire persona under what's wrong. In my view, if you're like, I'm a gay conservative or I'm a gay liberal, I don't have to hate you. I'm not saying you don't do good work. I'm not going to judge you. I can still be friends with you. I'm not going to spend my time bashing you. But in my opinion, you're taking something that is a biblical sin, that doesn't reproduce children, that isn't the original definition of marriage, that goes against nature, and you're identifying as that. That's what it is. It doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I'm, an unflawed person. It's just like, I don't have to agree. It's like if I put in my bio, alcoholic, degenerate, sex freak, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, drug addict, heroin, and then you had to pretend like that was amazing. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to pretend like, if that was in my bio, you don't have to pretend like that's so amazing. You could look at that and be like, no, I like Anomaly, but the fact that he identifies as that is a little weird. I think it's similar with gay and conservative. I don't hate. I don't overly judge. I have my own life to live. You know what I'm saying? I'm focused on myself. But to say that I have to agree with that or I have to think that it's amazing, I do think that it is equivalent to putting other stuff like that in your bio, in my view. Doesn't mean, like putting that at the forefront of your identity and who you are, you're identifying as that. Like, that's who I am. That's just part of me. It is what it is. It's just like, I see the debate going on. I see both sides of it. I understand. But that's my opinion on it. Let me know what you think. Someone said Plato liked little boys. I don't know if that's true, but I would assume that, I think people look at history and think that like everything was perfect back in the day. Like, oh, they really had it down. There's always sin in this world. There's always sin. There's always deviance. There's always degenerates. I've heard Ben Franklin was a huge degen. You know what I'm saying? Ben Franklin was like your friend who just wanted to have sex all the time. It's like, bro, calm down. It's Tuesday. He's like, well, tomorrow's hump day. And then it's hump day. Hump day was yesterday. I didn't get It's like, bro, you're a degenerate. I heard Ben Franklin was like that. He just loved to slang he loved to slang his constitutional stick. His founding father, he loved that. From what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. It's a rumor. We'll never know. With that being said, Ben Franklin did a lot of good stuff, and Plato did as well, but I don't know who they were. It's just like someone said every day someday. It's just like we look at history sometimes and think that, oh, it must have just been perfect then. No. Even in the 1900s, dude, people were getting their like cattle robbed by like bank robbers. Like, it's not perfect. People are like, I want to go back to the 30s. Teachers used to beat the kids, and people would be like, oh my God, that's abuse. It's like, well, that's why they were so tough, is because the teachers were beating them. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying like that's how they got there. If you don't, like everybody wants that life, but they don't want to live that life. It was like, it's just like, that's how it was. It's like, come on, get you back in the kitchen. Oh my gosh. It's different times, different strokes for different folks. There's pros and cons to both, but at the end of the day, you don't want to live in the past too much, I think. You want to embrace what you have. If you spend too much time being like, oh, it would have been good back there, you're doing a disservice to the life that you have. God gave you these tools. The internet could be kind of annoying. It could be kind of amazing. We all need to take a break, etc. But at the end of the day, it's like living in the past is doing a disservice to God. He gave you this moment. He gave you this life. You don't want to feel envious of another life. You want to just be grateful for what you have and just kind of maximize that, rather than like, being like, dang, I wish I was part of this. It's like, well, we're not, yeah, I wish I could be the Great Gatsby or whatever. And, I could dress like, I guess I still could dress like Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, oh, I could have been a roaring 20s. It's like, well, I'm not. So it's all fun. I wish I could have been a deep sea diver, and I wish I could have sailed the ocean blue with Columbus, but unfortunately my life's not that interesting. Appreciate you guys. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back soon, and probably do a show on Friday, and within the next couple of weeks, I'm just letting you guys know, I'm going to take a break to write my book and to do a marketing course I've been working on. I'm never going to finish it at this pace. I'm not going to say I lost inspiration, but I'm just so busy doing 50 million different things. So I've come to the conclusion the only way that I'll be able to ever finish it is if I take like a full week break and dedicate the time to that. So I will be doing that soon. Don't fret. When I'm gone, I'll be writing and working on that. Appreciate you guys. I'll be back soon. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk. For $5 a month, you can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description, or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying. So I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. DreamRareChat at Telegram. My Instagram is @DreamRare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And DreamRareLinks.com. That's DreamRareLinks.com. Has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at DreamRareLinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you. You already know I'll be back with more content soon.